Now, I've had a bit of inspiration from a fellow booktuber, but I'm about to bring you some of my favourite plot twists in my books and tell you what these books are about and why you need to read them. Welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and I am a lover of all things books, and I'm here to bring you some plot twists and book recommendations based on those plot twists. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know there's not many videos that don't go by with a Steve Kavanagh mention. So obviously I'm going to mention Kill for Me, Kill for You. So this is a standalone that Steve Kavanagh, can't get my words out, that Steve Kavanagh brought out basically in 2023, and I was lucky enough to meet him, and I actually have a signed version of this in hardback. So this is basically, it follows two characters that unexpectedly meet. It's a bit of like a relation to strangers on a train, and basically they meet, they both want to unalive somebody, so they make up this big plan that they unalive for each other. It was twisty, and I'm not kidding you when the ending had my jaw on the floor. I will recommend this book until I'm blue in the face. This is my all-time favourite thriller, and honestly, if you haven't picked up Steve Kavanagh, the Eddie Flynn series is what I would always recommend, but not for the plot twist. That is very much a low-key crime book and series. However, for the plot twist, absolutely this. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you any of the plot twists because that would spoil the whole book. But yeah, I will continue to recommend this one. This is definitely by far my favourite book of his, but yeah, the plot twist in this, absolutely phenomenal. Now, I only actually discovered this author in 2024, and it'll surprise you that I've read so many of his books, and that is Eeny Meeny by MJ Arledge. Now, this was the first book I picked up, which is why I've picked this one. However, you will see later on in the video I've picked up another one. But this basically follows several different characters, and basically they are kidnapped in pairs, and the only way they're going to get out alive is if they kill the other one. Now, already that should have you hooked, no? But honestly, this was twisted. The ending, my jaw was on the floor. This was an instant 5-star. I inhaled this book and then went on to inhale the series, and now just he's an auto-by author. MJ Arledge has a really good way of writing really good thrillers. The ideas are very unique and the chapters are extremely short. So you're looking about a minute to 2 per chapter, and probably about 5 pages max for a chapter. So if you are a short chapter girly like I am, these are the perfect books to read. But yeah, MJ Arledge is probably my second favourite crime writer, and yeah, honestly, I will not stop recommending his books, but Eeny Meeny is the first book in the series, so I would recommend that's where you start. So, as I've just said, I have just mentioned an MJ Arledge, so it would be silly not to mention the second one, and that is Little Boy Blue. Now, you need to read the whole series to get here, but the reason that this one particularly sits in ones with plot twists is that this finishes on the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers. I've had a friend finish this recently and she was like, excuse me, what? This not only is a plot twist, it's a cliffhanger, and I cannot begin to explain it. Basically, people start getting killed, and it all seems to lean back to D.I. Helen Grace, and she's connected, but it's a part of her life that is not public, that is not known. So once the connection is made, her life is probably going to unravel. And boy, does it unravel. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that on it, to be quite honest. It is quite a short book compared to the other books in his series as well. Really quick and easy to read. Again, the short chapters, if you're a short chapter girly, are absolutely just there for an MJ Arledge book. But yeah, this is definitely a recommend, and just a general, yeah. I can't say any more than that, but this comes with a plot twist and a cliffhanger. So an absolute recommend, but read the first few in the series first. Now, I haven't long finished this book, and this book will actually probably get a mention before I've even done my April reading wrap-up, but that is The Stranger in Her House by John Marrs. So I've recently read this on a readathon day and actually inhaled a lot of it quite quickly. So this follows Connie, who is caring for her mum, and a guy who comes from a charity starts doing little jobs, but then he starts like weaving his way into her mum's life. It follows multiple points of view, so it follows Connie, it follows her neighbours, and then general other characters that get introduced throughout the story. I loved this. Now, most of the books I'm going to talk to you about are 5-star. This isn't, purely on the epilogue, but the twists in this are worth it. So there's a twist about halfway through the book, and there's constant, like, not necessarily plot twists, but jaw-dropping moments throughout the book. Again, short chapters, really quick and easy to read. It was only the epilogue that was super long, and for me, it was a little unnecessary, but that is my personal opinion. But yeah, I could talk about John Marrs till I'm blue in the face. A lot of his books are some of my favourite ones, but this isn't one I've actually seen recommended a lot online, and that's why I wanted to give it a bit of a mention. Now, another recent discovery is Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris. Now, I saw Francesca rate this one as part of like a few of her videos. I've seen her do a B.A. Paris backlist, and that's what I'm currently on with as a side hustle to the John Marrs one. Now, if it wasn't for Francesca, I probably wouldn't have put this out on my list because I haven't actually heard anything about it. But this basically follows a guy and his fiancée after his friend and her sister went missing about 12 years ago, I believe it is. And basically, they start getting weird things sent through the post, weird messages, and it makes it kind of like Layla is alive. So obviously they're now trying to find her again. You will not see the plot twist coming in this. I really, really enjoyed it. I know some people will find it unbelievable, but I personally enjoyed it, and I think this needs to be out on the socials a lot more. I know Francesca says the same thing, but such an easy, enjoyable read. And I did actually read 75% of this in one sitting. So I can't say any more than that, only that this is not a B.A. Paris book that is well known, but get it on your radar. It is also available on Kindle Unlimited. Now, I don't think it would be a plot twist video if you didn't mention Freida McFadden, so I'm going to go with The Housemaid. However, she's pretty good at plot twists. Now, her books are pretty standard thrillers. They're really easy to read, short chapters. But I first picked up The Housemaid and my jaw was on the floor. This was my first 5-star rating for a Freida McFadden book. And just generally, her plot twists do twist. Like, some of her books I've rated 3 stars, but the plot twist has literally taken it out of like a 2-star rating. So, yeah. So The Housemaid basically follows Nina, who is recently being released from prison, and the only job she can get is in a bit of a like live-in nanny. And what she doesn't understand is she's in this really big expensive house and she gets put in the basement and there is only a lock on the outside of the door. So you can imagine that just screams red flag, but does she continue to work for them? Of course she does. She needs the money and struggling to get a job. So yeah, I'm saying no more than that, but this is twisted and you will not see the twist coming and you will want to inhale this book. All of Freida's books are on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm not going to go into detail about any other books, but there is Never Lie. That is a really, really jaw-dropping book. I just went with The Housemaid because that's the one that is probably most known, but definitely look into Freida McFadden. Never Lie is definitely one to look at, and yeah, but The Housemaid is the one I'm going to talk about. And the last book that I want to give a nod to is The Paris Apartments by Lucy Foley. Now, I think I read this probably about 18 months ago. It was when I first started out on my BookTok journey, and this was a 5-star rating. You will not see the ending coming. Now, this seems to have teetered off a lot. Lucy Foley has quite a few good books, but this is by far my favourite book by her. And yeah, the plot twist. So basically, it is a Paris apartment, but it's like a block of people. There are loads of different people in this, and then a family relative comes to visit one, apart from she gets there and the apartment is empty. And basically she just tries to find out what's going on. Things are very weird, things are very like not normal, but something just seems suspicious, and she basically goes on a mission to try and find out what's going on. I'm going to say no more because this book was extremely enjoyable, and it is quite a chunky book, but I read this in paperback, thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, it's a must add if you haven't already added it to your TBR. So that's a wrap on just a few books I would strongly recommend if you are looking for something quick, easy with a plot twist. But yeah, let me know in the comments, have you got any books that you would recommend that I haven't already mentioned? Because I sure love a good plot twist in a book. I am a crime and thriller girly through and through, so I would love to see people's recommendations. But yeah, thank you for joining me guys on yet another video, and as always, click that subscribe button for future videos, and thank you so much for joining me guys. I am just obsessed with being here.